Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise account, and we have I gotta give an intro really quick. I'm Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, we have Carl McDonald, and we have some breaking news. The Boston Celtics have signed Dalano Banton to a 2-year deal. Carl, are you shocked? That's my first question.
I would say so, yeah, just because this is going to be now his third stint within the last. What did I say when we first broke this in the group chat? Was in the last 2 seasons? Yeah, I believe third stint within the last 2 seasons. Don't know what his original deal was, but I remember he was traded over for a piece that I believe materialized into Jaden Springer, and then for the second time he's brought onto this team. It was, of course, earlier in the season or earlier this, calendar year within this season where he was on a 10-day. And I really thought that they weren't going to, do a whole lot with him. They just needed to fill up a roster spot and just figure out what they were going to do with, having their roster, not just for the remainder of the season, but of course going into the postseason. And that, was involving, potentially bringing on Charles Bassey full time or Ron Harper Jr., which of course he got the contract, and of course Max Shulga getting the contract before Banton too. So I was not really expecting for the Celtics to pick him up. Banton I feel like is in a sense in a weird situation where he's that guy who always comes back. Definitely they have to like him. He has to have had impressed them in some way, shape, or form, whether that's his play or just him being a good person for them to, want him to have to, be a part of this team and, ride with them and stuff. And I think what that puts them at like 15 or 16 individuals on the roster. Because I was counting, I thought it was 15 at the moment, but what Banton is 16. Okay, yeah,
I,
16.
I believe so. Let me double check while you're talking.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. Yeah, and so giving him a 2-year deal, I was not expecting, especially with him coming off of again a 10-day contract. I think the main reason why they would do this, outside of filling up a potential spot on the roster, and again preparing for the postseason, is to okay. So yes, the 16 spots now filled. Um, it's because they needed some more guard depth, something that we have talked about, throughout the season, specifically around the time of the trade deadline, where we would eventually give up Anthony Simons over to the Bulls to get Vucevic. Um, so yeah, that's I see the only reason why they would want to have him on the team is to just have that guard depth ready and again further prepare themselves for not only this stretch of the season going into the postseason, but of course next season too.
No, Carl, you nailed it right there. There has to be a reason they're bringing him back. They love this guy. I mean, you saw, I love this guy from the fact that he's a main guy. Even Carl, he played for the main Celtics at one time at a point. I didn't get to watch that game, but still. But you look at Delano Banton, and this is a guy that obviously Brad Stevens thinks highly of. He brought him in a couple years ago, and now you look at this. He brought him back not once but twice. But Carl, I wanted to ask this question for you as well. Do you think if Charles Bassey, because yes, 16 so roster is completely full now. And usually the Celtics like to keep an open roster spot, but obviously they feel very comfortable with this and they feel like bringing him on could just add to the team somehow or some way. Which I'm happy for. Like I don't mind bringing Delano in. I would have been a little pissed off if Ron Harper Jr. didn't get, and I'm sure Ron Harper Jr. fan would agree with this. If Ron Harper Jr. didn't get a contract and you see us bringing on Delano Banton, but I would have even went the route of even giving John Tonji a contract. Because again, they traded for him. I think they show some trust in him. But Delano Banton is a guy who is NBA ready and NBA experience. He spent the season in the G League, but is a great guy. But my question is for you, Carl. If you see a world where Charles Bassey never gets signed by the Warriors, do you think they sign him over Delano Banton? Where are you on that point? Because again, they had him in summer league, they liked him there, and then signed him to not want only one 10-day contract, but two. Do you see a world where they sign him over Banton?
Honestly, with this piece of news, I definitely see them. if in another timeline, an alternate timeline where, yeah, if it was Bassey in this hot seat, then he would have been given that contract. Considering how well he played for us during the summer league and what he's showing off over with the Golden State Warriors, what he ended one of those games with a double double, and he was great on the defensive end. So any team, including the Boston Celtics, would be crazy to not give that individual, a contract. And I understand why they weren't looking to do so, especially with them mainly investing into Ron Harper Jr. and furthering their guard depth as they finally furthered their front court and big man depth with the returns of Jason Tatum, Keita, really elevating as the primal center. Garza also very much improving, and Vooch trying to really get back and acclimated within the system with all of these pieces coming together. So yeah, Bassey definitely probably would have been lost in the shuffle, almost in a similar fashion to when Keita was lost in the shuffle when we were playing guys like Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, our prime center starters, and even Luke Cornett, who was getting more minutes than him. And Tillman was also finding himself. Xavier Tillman was also finding himself in a position where he was not played as much too. So definitely, if it was Bassey in this situation, he definitely does get that contract. But there's the risk of him not being able to really prove and show his worth as much because of who we already have on the team and the system that Joe Mazzulla has already set in place for this team.
Yeah, and you mentioned it right there. I'm just gonna give out the stats for Charles Bassey, and it was against the Lakers. Carl played 30 minutes, had 12 points, 13 rebounds, an assist, and two blocks. I mean, you'd love to have him on the team, but again, Warriors signed him, and that's a guy who's showing he's NBA ready, and let him go have fun and let him go get his shine because that is an NBA ready player. But for Delano Banton, I'm so excited to have him back. Again, we traded him right before we could win a championship with him. So you got Delano Banton. Maybe we go for a championship this year and get him his ring. I mean, he deserves it. And this is a guy who, again, 2-year deals. I love what the Boston Celtics are doing with these 2-year deals. You saw, obviously, Chris Boucher didn't really work out, but it's these 2-year deals are low risk, high reward. Because you're not giving them a lot of money. However, you saw it. They gave one to Luca Garza, they gave one to Minot and Boucher. Obviously, Boucher didn't pan out, and you see now Minot's over in Brooklyn is a complete stud now over there in Brooklyn. Had like a 22-point game or something. But Banton, obviously, he gets the 2-year deal. Shulga gets a 2-year deal. Ron Harper Jr. gets a 2-year deal as well. These are three players where it's low risk, high reward. Amari Williams, another guy, got the 2-year deal. I mean, these are young players that could really show out and show if they're worth something. Don't you agree on that, Carl?
Oh no, absolutely. And I feel like this, yeah, like you said, speaks to the great things that the Boston Celtics are doing. Definitely doing better in managing, their money very well here too, as a big reason why we were almost, not I want to say put in this position, is because, we had to make those trades because of the whole CBA and us getting over the second apron and the outside of, losing a lot of those key players to get under certain aprons and try to conform to the rules of the CBA, and of course losing Jason Tatum. The main thing was to shed have however much money that we could so that we could be within that reign and not have to pay all these luxury taxes. So it definitely helps to put these individuals on the team onto 2-year deals that are young, haven't really proven themselves yet, but could potentially find themselves gaining more money as time does go on, as they're also building up for the future too. We discussed how Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown are still pretty young individuals, still in their 20s. Derek White is one of the older individuals on this team, being 30. Peyton Pritchard is also young, and you have those guys who are developed and set, who have won a championship, and then you have other guys like the Hugo Gonzalez's, the Max Shulgas, Ron Harper Jr.'s, Amari Williams, Luca Garza's, and Keitas, who are also young and who are also proving themselves and proving their worth. And over time, you could see them, getting some type of pay raise because of the type of production that they are putting into this team. And that just goes to show that the Celtics are further preparing themselves for the future, as our roster for the most part is young. I wonder where we are right now, in terms of standing, like if we are one of the youngest teams in the NBA actually.
Yeah, I wonder. I know OKC probably beats you. Those younger teams like Memphis, probably
Right.
Utah, um,
Kings possibly. Yeah, yeah.
Wizards. No, Kings got some old talent because they got Sabonis, DeRozan, and Levine. But Carl, I do think other than that though, they're pretty young though. Other than that, and I think we might have lost Carl, but we'll wait a second to see if we get him back. But I believe the Kings are one of other than that talent, I think they're pretty young. But here's another interesting fact as we'll see if Carl comes back or not. Hold on, we'll remove him really quick and see if he comes back. But another interesting thing for the Boston Celtics with this news is the Celtics signing Dalano Banton. They are still under the luxury tax. They are 11K under the luxury tax. So Brad Stevens just completely was in his bag for this. I mean, he's been a genius all year. I mean, you look at what he's been able to do and accomplish. As we welcome Carl back. Carl, we welcome you back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, I was mentioning though, I think the Kings are a little bit older because you have Sabonis, Levine, and DeRozan, and all of those guys. But
Oh,
other than that, though, I think they're pretty young. And Westbrook, yeah, they're kind of old. And
I
that's
forget that they have those guys on the team. That's why Sabonis hasn't played in I don't even know how long. Levine hasn't panned out for them. DeRozan, he's good, but not really a good fit for the team. Westbrook, weirdly enough, I would say, is
is a
the
good,
best thing to happen to. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, crazy. But I was saying this too, Carl. Celtics are still 11K under the luxury tax after this move. So Brad Stevens, I'll pull it up. Dump truck Brad. I mean,
We'd love to see it.
like he's been able to take this team who was well over even the second apron, and now has changed this team to just look phenomenal with the amount of money he was able to have and everything, and just wow, kudos to Brad Stevens, kudos. But Carl, do you have any final thoughts before we close it out? And again, welcome back, Delano Banton.
No, indeed. Like you said, first off, welcome back, Dalano Banton. Another thing you had brought up is that, yeah, I would hope to see him win a championship with us. He was a part of that championship team before we gave him up for Jaden Springer, which I understand. I get, at the end of the day, the NBA is a business. But I would hope to see him, getting that ring with us, hosting or hoisting Larry O'Brien alongside us come June. This is somebody that I feel like could help us out in the near future with, this team and further developing, especially these young guys. And he's now a part of that system. So it should be pretty exciting to see where Banton, takes us next. I know more than likely he may have a similar role to what Xavier Tillman had, not necessarily getting the playing time that he deserves, but at the same time, still being important for this team in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I was just thinking about it. It's so funny to me that we just take all of Toronto's used guys. You look at it, Ron Harper Jr., Delano Banton, Chris Boucher. Obviously, Chris Boucher didn't pan out, but Delano Banton is a guy, and Ron Harper Jr. And we'll take those two guys and develop them well here in Boston, and we'll love it. But welcome back, Delano Banton. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload. We will see you guys with the next one. Peace, you guys.
Later.